Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with lesser-known works by major composers. And today we're talking about a major, huge, enormous, super-duper significant piece by a major composer, Prokofiev, that most people don't know at all. It's his Symphony Concerto, or Sinfonia Concertante, depending on how you want to call it, for cello and orchestra, opus 125. It was one of the very last pieces he wrote. In fact, he didn't live to hear the first performance of the final revised version. He actually worked on it in tandem with the great Russian cellist Mstislav Rostropovich, and it has a very long and tortured and tangled history, which makes it which has not helped it, let's put it that way. See, originally in 1938-ish, Prokofiev wrote a cello concerto. It didn't go over all that well, and to be frank, and so he salvaged some of the music in writing this new piece for Rostropovich, actually. We dedicated it to Rostropovich. It was written on commission by someone else. We don't have to get into those details. Around 1952. So that's 14 years after the actual cello concerto. So Prokofiev, as you know, was very famous for writing wonderful concertos. I mean, he wrote some terrific piano concertos, especially the second and the third. And the first is pretty cool, too. His two violin concertos are quite popular. You know, he was a good concerto guy. He really was. But cello, well, you know, it was a little bit terra incognita for him. He used Rostropovich to help actually write the solo part because he wasn't as confident in what the capacity of the cello was. And so eventually he produced this. It's gargantuan. It's 40 minutes long. I mean, it is symphonic in length. It's very unusually structured. It has an andante opening, a slowish movement, about 10 minutes long. And then there is a central movement, which is nearly 20 minutes long, 18, 19 minutes long, an allegro. And then a final andante finale, which actually has a lot of activity in it. It doesn't feel like a slowish movement at all most of the time. It really is a strange piece. It doesn't have those typically Prokofiev-ish wrong note romantic melodies. Oh, it's very melodic. It has beautiful material in it, but it's a little bit elusive. It doesn't have those hummable tunes that you're going to go home whistling in the same way, and it's extraordinarily difficult. I mean, really, really tough. The very end is one of the strangest things. You're not going to believe it's a cello playing. It uses the highest notes that you could possibly play on the instrument. The player is actually playing on the fingerboard. He has to get so high up. It's really, it gets higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. Then thwump, it's over. So it's a tough piece. It also is a hard piece to position in a concert because, like I said, being like 40 minutes long, it's symphonic in length and ambition, and it really needs to be all by itself as a second half piece. You can't play it, after the overture, then you do the concerto, then you do intermission, then you do the symphony. It doesn't fit traditionally. Now, there are cello concertos that are second half pieces. The Dvorak concerto is the most famous. It's the greatest cello concerto ever written, and it often gets featured all by itself. But it's so lovable and yummy compared to this, which is much thornier and more challenging. I think it's a fascinating work, but an occasional work. There are some pieces that you play constantly, that you like all the time, and some that take a little bit more getting used to, and you save for special occasions. For me, anyway, this is a special occasion work, but it's unquestionably one of the great cello concertos. I mean, it works for cello and orchestra. The fact that Prokofiev took the name cello concerto, away from it and called it a symphony concerto, hasn't helped it either, because you want to have just a concerto with a famous soloist, and Rostropovich played it quite a bit, as much as he could, but, and others have made fabulous recordings of it. I have one here. This is Truls Mork with Paavo Järvi. and the City of Birmingham Symphony Orchestra. It's also coupled, by the way, with the Miaskovsky Cello Concerto, which is a lovely work. One of his finer concertos as well. But, most of the great cellists this century have this work in their repertoire, one way or another. And quite a few of them have recorded it. And most do it pretty well, because it's one of those specialty pieces where if you're going to do it at all, you're probably going to get it right, or you're going to do a very creditable job. And also the piece itself is so strange that most people don't know what it's supposed to sound like anyway. And so you're going to get away with it. And it's going to be okay. I mean, it's going to work out because the technical challenges are so great that as long as you can surmount those, then the whole thing kind of works. All the recorded performances are sort of the same length. There's not a lot of difference in interpretation. It doesn't seem to leave that much room to futz around with it, And yes, futz was the word I was thinking of, by the way, in case you were wondering. It was not the other one. Anyway, it's a remarkable piece. And if you like Prokofiev, and if you like Prokofiev's concertos, you really may want to give this a shot. But you take your time with it and let it sink in and do its thing, because it is an unusual work. And that's not a bad thing all the time. Sometimes it's a very good thing, as I think it is here. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.